Hi, I'm Sandeep Sahay. I'm PH pulmonologist at Houston Methodist Hospital, Houston, Texas.
Hi, I'm Manuel López-Meseguer. I am a pulmonologist at Vall-d'Hebron Hospital in Barcelona, and I coordinate the Pulmonary Hypertension unit.
I'm Patricia George. I'm a PH pulmonologist from Denver, Colorado at National Jewish Health. All right, so we are here. I'm excited to have you both here today, Manuel, Sandeep, and thank you so much for being a part of our panel.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So we all just experienced World Symposium Day 1, and as mentioned in our video yesterday to our audience members, we wanted to bring back teachings to people back in the United States and around the world, inspired by World Symposium. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit just about overall impressions from today.
Well, thanks, Patty. First of all, thanks for having us, and it's a wonderful city and wonderful meeting. And thanks to the organizers, it was a very enriching day in terms of learning and knowledge. And I must congratulate organizers to start the meeting with the patient perspective discussion, because it just shows how important our patients are for our community, because it just puts them in the center of this meeting, and starting the meeting with that.
Yes, okay. Also, thank you for the invitation. Very kind from you. When we talk about patients' role in this disease management, I always have the same thoughts, that we still have a lot to do. And we need patients in this struggle, but we have to invite them to join us.
Yeah, I have to agree. We had our Unity Walk yesterday, and we centered ourselves on the importance of being here for patients, and seeing World Symposium do the same thing, with having that as the first committee is key. We'll have our patient perspective portion of this as our summary to help us in our wrap up and give us a reflection on what we've all experienced and what they experienced being at the meeting. You know, a lot of emphasis was placed on how the heart adapts to pulmonary hypertension or doesn't. So what could you explain that?
Pulmonary artery is in disease backwards. It affects right ventricle, which is the part of the heart that has to pump the lung. On a healthy situation, right ventricle is used to work easily, doesn't have to face high pressures, and it's a thin and easygoing ventricle.
Right.
But everybody understands that when the vessel gets sick, right ventricle has to fight against this resistance, and depending on how it adapts, the prognostic of the disease might change a lot.
I think monitoring of the right ventricle function in the management of PH is very important. So imaging techniques help us to monitor them closely. So if it's improving, it's well. If it is not improving, then it kind of helps us to decide if we need to advance the treatment for our patients.
I wonder if one of you could speak, perhaps you, Sandeep, about, why do we do all this testing? Can you tell us about the different groups of PH and what that means?
Thanks, Patty. This is very important for patients to understand, that when we use the term pulmonary hypertension, I always explain to my patients that it's a very heterogeneous diagnosis. It's like when I use the term, it actually means 5 different types of possibilities there. So we have to identify which particular type you have. So now you can imagine, if a patient first comes to you as a new patient suspected to have pulmonary hypertension on an echo or something, you need to make sure and try to identify what type of PH this patient has. So I try to explain them that pulmonary hypertension it's like different phases of this disease. So to know what is causing the disease, that's why there are 5 different major causes or types of disease. So the classification is basically based on the etiology or the reason why you develop pulmonary hypertension. And then I kind of explain them, group 1 is something which is very rare, but this is the most concerning form of the disease also, where we have most of the treatments available, but also the most aggressive form as well. So one of the things to undergo all this testing is to make sure that you do not have or if our suspicion is that you have that, then we correctly identify that what severity of the disease you have. So this is how I kind of explain them. And then, you know, if you have this, what we call commonly as group 2 or pulmonary hypertension because of the left heart disease, then we correctly identify you, or if needed, have help from cardiology colleagues and evaluate you further. Similarly, group 3, 4, and 5. And it's important to identify other forms like CTEPH, which is group 4, because that can be potentially curative in certain patients if you get the surgery and they're at the right place. So that kind of helps me explain it to my patients, different types of pulmonary hypertension.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming from National Jewish, where we have a big program in COPD and interstitial lung disease, group 3, which is pulmonary hypertension due to lung disease, is certainly of great importance as well. And then there's of course group 5, which is the rare diseases. And they don't quite fit in the other boxes, things like sarcoidosis. And so these classifications matter because they help us determine, okay, what category of treatments do people qualify for? Is it going to be these PAH medications, or is it focusing on heart disease, lung disease, surgery, as you mentioned?
It is so extremely important that at the time of diagnosis, we are so precise and go in depth into the personalized disease one patient has. We can generalize.
Well, thank you both so much
Thank you so much.
for participating today, and really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.